everyone, and welcome back to the fifth dimension where I love to talk about anything related to Doctor Who. Today, I'm going to be continuing my random classic series where once a week, not exactly once a week because I did last Thursday and obviously it's Saturday, but still once a week I spin a random wheel of what classic Doctor Who story to watch and review, and I review it. So today I'm going to be reviewing Colony in Space. Coincidentally enough, the other in Space Pertwee story I reviewed last week with Frontier in Space. Please do go and check that out if you haven't already. And yeah, so Colony in Space, this is the fourth story of season 8 of Doctor Who. It was Jon Pertwee's second season, and it's quite a significant story because it's the first story ever in which Jon Pertwee, the Third Doctor, goes properly to an alien planet, because obviously he was exiled to Earth by the Time Lords and they sent him on a little mission to go and stop the Master from using the doomsday weapon, a concept which isn't introduced until the sixth and final episode. I'll get to that later. But yeah, this is generally a really good story. I feel it's often seen as the weak link of season 8, which is a shame because I still think it's really good, and people often treat it as a very mediocre story, one that drags quite a bit, which I feel lots of people don't like six-parters as a generally, I feel, especially in the Pertwee and Tom Baker years, people often see them as a bit of a drag. I don't as much. I'm a lot kinder to six-parters because I feel sometimes they can drag, but lots of the time I feel they're more, just, strolling at a leisurely pace. Like, I don't think they drag loads as much as they just do, they dawdle a bit. It takes its time, which I don't mind. So yeah, Colony in Space. The basic plot of this is the Doctor and Jo are sent on a mission by the Time Lords to stop the Master using a doomsday weapon, but the Master doesn't appear until the fourth episode, and they spend the first 3 episodes among the conflict of some colonists on the planet Uxarieus in the 25th century, and the Interplanetary Mining Corporation who want to mine it. So it's something of a political story, I'd say. For those of you who, complain about the politics of the Whittaker era, guess what? There was some in the Pertwee era too. It's like it sounds very dull, like a zoning dispute, but honestly, it really works. We do have some very nice action sequences, very reminiscent of previous stories here. And I think it's worth mentioning as well, this is a story by Malcolm Hulke, a writer who's quite prolific in season 7 and 8, and he's written some absolutely cracking stories. He wrote Frontier in Space as well. He wrote Mind of Evil, I believe, Ambassadors of Death. A very, very good writer in my opinion. I feel he has such a way of, plunging the Doctor and companion into a world where everyone is kind of morally grey and there's not really a good side and a bad side, even though the IMC is kind of considered the bad guys in this one. But still, it's a very bleak and grim atmosphere, which contrasts from, the lightheartedness of the Doctor and his companion, which I think really, really works in this story especially. We get some quite grim turns in this, which I'll come on to later. But the general plot, for the first part anyway, the zoning dispute, we get the machine that is about to kill the Doctor, and the first 2 cliffhangers, they're basically the same. It's faking that monster appearing, the claw marks, and it's killing some people. It's very atmospheric and like, what's picking off these colonists. It's a really interesting story, which I feel the world is realised very well, and it's not too boring, I think. Like, I don't know, I feel this story provides enough new plot lines to keep itself going, because obviously we get the Adjudicator arriving to sort things out in part 4, and it's actually the Master, and the ship is his TARDIS, and we've got, Jo is sent to this, the primitive city, and then the Doctor goes as well. They go back, they break into the Master's TARDIS, and then the Master catches them, and there's the tube that Jo's in with the toxic gas. It's very creative, and that they provide enough new things to keep it going and stop it from getting boring, which I think it does just in the nick of time, because if the Master appeared in episode 5, say, episode 4 would have been quite boring, I think. We've also got this nice little internal conflict going on. Like, we've got the 2 major colonists, Ash and Winton. They have very much opposing views, with Ash wanting to stay and support the colony, whereas Winton just wants to go to another planet, which I think was a quite interesting internal dispute within the colony. We also have another within the Interplanetary Mining Corporation with we have one, the the mineralogist that was with them, Caldwell. He sort of betrays, the IMC main guy, Captain Dent, a few times, and then there's like this internal struggle going on with him. He eventually redeems himself and turns good. I just think it was a really interesting, it is that these characters aren't just cardboard cutouts. I feel not only are they acted quite well, but just the internal conflicts going on as well. It's very realistic and grounded, surprisingly, considering it's on an alien planet. And I feel Malcolm Hulke realised all of these conflicts very well. We also have a couple of nice, gunfight scenes, very reminiscent of Ambassadors of Death, which I really liked. We get a really great sort of Deus Ex Machina in part 6. I'll get onto that later. So, another aspect of this story, I've just been rambling about how well realised some of these characters are, but we have another aspect, which is obviously the primitives and the, the really advanced race which eventually deteriorated. So I feel that aspect of the history was really cool. It's kind of like once the Master appears and they go into the primitive city, it's two stories going on. It's the IMC versus the colonists, and then you've got the Doctor, the Master, and Joe. In another side of things, I feel, for the first few episodes, the Doctor is basically an intermediary between the mining corporation and the colonists, but he eventually moves on to this other plot line. And that's really interesting, figuring out what was going on. We've got, I don't believe he's ever named, but, the guy who's in the chair and, who the thing moves up. It's hard to explain. Chances are, if you're watching this, then you've seen the story, so you know who I mean. I feel that was really cool as well. We get some... that's one of my gripes of the episode, or the story. I don't feel the aliens were very well done. I don't know, it was a bit lazy. I'm willing to forgive it though, because it's a very good story. It's not completely just ruined because of that. There are definitely redeeming factors in the story, which I think push it up quite a lot, as I've said. We get a very shocking twist when the Adjudicator decrees that the miners are to stay and the colonists must leave. That was quite a shocking twist when the rocket was going up in part 6 and it blew up, like most of the colonists are gone. And then we get a very nice Deus Ex Machina scene where some of them, Winton and his gang, I didn't really like Winton for most of this, I'll get onto him a bit later, they survived, and then, they're just like, hang on, when the IMC guys are about to shoot the Doctor and Joe, they're just like turning up over that hill. It's an absolutely brilliant twist. I really, really love that bit. But yeah, the scene where the rocket blows up, that was a very shocking turn. I didn't expect that. It kind of shows, the good guys don't always win in the end. Lots of them sadly died. It was quite depressing, really. But, that's what Malcolm Hulke stories are. They're grim, they're gritty, they're grounded, and lots of GRs. So, yeah, we might as well get on to the characters. Jon Pertwee is the third Doctor. Come on, I've got to mention this in every single one of my videos. Jon Pertwee is absolutely my favourite Doctor. I think he's just a fantastic actor. Really just chews the scenery. He is absolutely a delight in the story. I say he's on top form because he's on top form for pretty much every story that's not season 11, to be honest. He wasn't bad in season 11, by the way, but he was absolutely at his prime in 7, 8, 9, 10 really. He was fantastic. Joe, I feel Joe hasn't fully fledged into her companion yet. I feel, her characterisation is still a bit lacking. She feels like a bit of a generic 60s companion like Victoria or Susan, just sort of there to scream at the monsters and make observations so the audience can know what's going on. Which, that is the purpose of companion lots of the time. I feel she does sort of come into her own, especially in the next story, The Demons, and later on I feel she really comes into her own, but here she doesn't really do much. She just sort of asks the colonist questions so we understand what's going on, and what time period is in, and getting captured a couple of times, which, yeah, maybe not the best. I'm willing to forgive it though. She's not bad in this. She's likeable enough. She's definitely not anything to write home about though, She's much better in, season 10. So, yeah, we also have Captain Dent, who's the leader of the IMC. He's just really fun in this. I feel, he's just sort of your standard, evil guy who wants to exploit the resources of this, doesn't care about the humans. I think he was pretty great, to be honest. And then we obviously have Caldwell, who's like the opposition within the IMC. He was an interesting character. I actually really liked him because you didn't know whether he was good or evil. It was kind of in flux. Flux. Sorry, that was a terrible pun. And we also have, what's his name? Ash, who is obviously the colony leader, and we have Winton as well, and they're both very good. You know, as I said before, I do like their sort of internal conflict, and we might as well discuss him. The Master, Roger Delgado. It is his 4th consecutive story. Lots of people like to say, you know, it gets a bit boring towards the end of the season, and while I do agree it was nice to not have him for all of season 9, honestly, any scene in which Roger Delgado and Jon Pertwee are in together is immediately gold, no matter what they're doing. They could have the Absorbaloth, they could have Benny, they could have Erato in the same scene. If it's Jon Pertwee and Roger Delgado, they're going to make it good. And they do. They're so... like, they're really good actors, both of them. Like, both are great individually, but together... and Katy Manning as well is just the cherry on top. It's absolutely fantastic. I could waffle all day about how brilliant Roger Delgado is. You can't even get annoyed at him as a villain. He's just so suave and like... You know, he's fantastic. I really love Roger Delgado as an actor. He's brilliant. And I feel it's something of a shock twist that the Master doesn't appear in the first 3 episodes. He only appears in the 4th episode, which I quite like. It sort of, you know, freshens the plot up at just the nick of time. Yeah, it's really great. So I thought it was worth mentioning. The upscaling of this, especially for the film scenes, is very nice. I watched this on the Season 8 Blu-ray collection, which I recently got for Christmas. Love it. Shout out to the guys who bought this for me. But yeah, it's a really great upscaling work they've done. Sadly, this doesn't have 5.1 surround sound, but Terror of the Autons and the Demons do, so, you know, that's good. Yeah, so that's about all I have to say about this. Oh, another thing. I do feel it's somewhat ironic how it's the 3rd Doctor's first alien planet, and much like every other alien planet, it's a boring quarry. You know, typical 1st and 2nd Doctor fashion, it's just a quarry. Actually, no, I take that back about the 1st Doctor. He has some interesting planets. 2nd Doctor does not. That said, I prefer his era, but still. Anyway, thank you for watching this, everyone. My conclusion to this, you know, every time I give my the story I'm reviewing a bit of a rating out of 100, I feel out of 10's a bit too limiting. So for Frontier in Space, the previous story I reviewed, go and check that out, please, if you haven't already. I gave it a 97%. It was really good. This isn't as good as Frontier. I do have my gripes with it. I feel it does slow down a bit. We do get some pretty silly brawls in the swamps and things. It's let down in a few places. I'm not too keen on the alien designs, but generally it's a really great story. It freshens things up at the right time. The Master's brilliant, the Doctor's brilliant. I really like the conflict going on within the groups and between them. So I give this an 83%. Yeah, 83. It's really great. Probably my least favourite of Season 8, but then again, this has some insane competition, so, you know, 83 is, you know, even if it's the worst story in the entire Pertwee era, which is the Time Monster, I still love it. So yeah, thank you for watching this video, everyone. Just a quick announcement for future videos. I'm going to be discussing the Season 22 Blu-ray collection special features tomorrow on Sunday, so please don't miss that. And I'll also be uploading the next edition of the Best and Worst of Who in about a week and a half. So yeah, make sure you're staying tuned for those, guys. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.